All right, Oklahoma fans, welcome in. I've got a very special guest here with me to preview the Oklahoma-Michigan matchup here this weekend in Norman, the second time ever that the two teams are facing off. I've got former Michigan quarterback, so yes, he's an enemy, but we're going to talk with David Cohn. Also, has a new album out as well. So congratulations on your new album, The Richest Man in Town, right?
Yes, sir. Richest Man in Town, 12-song album produced by Dolly Parton's producer, Mr. Kent Wells. I appreciate you bringing it up. Anyone who loves country music or Americana music, Southern rock, please go check it out. And Josh, I can't thank you enough for having me, man. I'm so excited for this football game.
Yeah, it's a big one for both teams, and I think it's going to finally tell both sides a lot about where their squad matches up. And I know you and I would probably agree that the early matchups are better. Just get this out of the way. Let's not wait till conference play. Let's figure out what this team is all about before we get into all that. So that I'm not sitting here hoping that we're good in conference play. I think Oklahoma dealt with that last year, where man, I don't know, we're winning, but how much does that mean for us in the conference play? But how do you feel about maybe the easier games, kind of those tune-up games first? Maybe your first game, kind of get the rust off, and then jumping into it, or would you prefer like what maybe Ohio State, Texas, or LSU, Clemson did, and just jumping right in very first game of the season?
Well, as a college football fan, I don't want to see these two programs play just so I can see early in the season how good they are. I want to see these two programs play because they're two of the best programs in the history of the sport. Top 10 for sure, maybe even top 5. I have so much respect for Oklahoma and the entire fan base. These are the type of matchups that you want to see, and that's regardless of the year. That's regardless of the situation. They could both be the bottom of the barrel in college football that particular year. Everyone is going to tune in to watch Michigan play Oklahoma, especially when it's at one of these stadiums like we're going to see a matchup in Norman. Then on top of that, you add in the fact that last year, both very mediocre football teams, but on the rise, did well in the transfer portal for Oklahoma. Michigan signs the highest rated recruit they ever have in Bryce Underwood. Both programs on the rise for 2025. And then on top of that, you add in the fact that Oklahoma is Sharon Moore's alma mater. Like, to me, it doesn't really get more interesting than this, unless for some reason they were, matching up in the college football playoff. Obviously, the expanded playoff has changed the circumstance around the landscape of college football. But for week 2, Michigan going on the road, like you said, this is the second meeting. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm hoping my Wolverines can even up that series because Oklahoma got us in the first one.
Yeah, and the first one was a pretty big matchup as well for that national championship run and everything there. So, first, going on to the beginning, like you mentioned last season, for both teams, I would say disaster. Both teams expect more out of their programs. Both teams expect to be national championship contenders, at least playoff contenders, and neither of them were even close. So, first, I want to start off on Oklahoma's side of the ball from an outsider's perspective. What were your first impressions of Oklahoma going into this new regime of Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, Jaden Knott obviously didn't play, but what was your first impression of Oklahoma coming out of the gates? Of course, only 35-3. You would have expected more fireworks, but it seemed like they had everything under control, worked all the rust off. What were those impressions for Oklahoma?
Well, I want to take a moment to go back even beyond this week 1 performance because, Oklahoma, there was so much getting talked about. I mean, we were at SEC Media Days in, 21? The second the announcement is that Texas and Oklahoma are going to join the SEC. And the conversation immediately became, how will these programs transition over into the premier conference of college football, and which one will have a leg up? And, we at Crane and Company, we said, well, Texas, because Steve Sarkisian got to knock off some of that rust, taking his lumps in the last few years of the Big 12, whereas Brent Venables coming over into the SEC was still building a lot of that foundation, particularly on the defensive side of the ball post Lincoln Riley. And no, it hasn't been pretty. It was not pretty last year. But when you talk about being able to bring in Arbuckle and the John Mateer combo, you bring in the OC and the quarterback, I don't think it can be overstated what the expectation should be for Oklahoma. Now, can John Mateer deliver week in and week out in the SEC the way he did at Washington State? A lot of traditional Southeastern Conference fans say no, he better wake up. We had Matt Moscona on our show today, said no, I'm not buying into this stock. He's going to struggle in the SEC. And while Cam Ward, who also transferred from Washington State, didn't transfer into the SEC, I think everyone would unanimously say he did pretty well at Miami, and there was a reason he was the number 1 overall pick. So I have really high expectations for John Mateer. in this Oklahoma offense. I'm not sure what to make of Jaden Ott, carrying the ball one time for -3 yards. I was really excited that he came over from Cal. I don't know if there was, he was being punished for something, or maybe they were just saving him from that injury he had in fall camp, just saving him for the Michigan game. But when we talked with Jim Nagy a couple weeks ago, the general manager over there at Oklahoma, he said Jaden Ott, before that he got banged up there in fall camp, he was looking great and he was moving great. So I feel really good about this Oklahoma offense. You asked about week one. Look, you did what you were supposed to do, and similar on the Michigan side, opening up against New Mexico, you did what you were supposed to do. I don't think either program showed a lot. I think they were saving up a lot. I know we're going to get into the Bryce Underwood in the Michigan section, but honestly, the biggest question mark I had for Michigan coming out of week one was the defense, very similar to how this defense under Wink Martindale started a year ago. I'll continue to say, I was saying it on our preview show, which you should check out on our YouTube channel at Crane and Company. If Michigan plays defense like they did last week in week one, I think John Mateer and the Oklahoma offense will feast. If Michigan plays defense under Wink Martindale the way they did towards the end of last season, when they held the Buckeyes to 10 points and they beat Alabama in the bowl game, then I like Michigan's opportunity and chance to go in and grab a win in Norman.
Yeah, yeah, and to the point of Jaden Ott, that was one I agree with you. I don't understand why they did it the way they did. They put him in late in the game for one rush, and it didn't work out. But it was, if you look at how Oklahoma's done everything really this entire offseason, it's been very cautious, wrap everybody up in bubble tape and bubble wrap and tape them up real tight. That's why he didn't play in week one. It's not that he didn't earn that starter's role. They wanted to see first what Torrey Blaylock is made of, and he came out and looked really well in that game, even though he didn't get a whole lot of opportunity. And the offensive line definitely could improve on run blocking. But again, another thing that I don't agree with what the team did there, what the coaching staff did there, they didn't put all of their starters in, again, keeping them in that bubble wrap and trying to keep them healthy. But
And maybe you don't need him. I mean, this was the point that my co-host Blaine Crane was making, is like, look, maybe there's a reason that Jaden Ott isn't playing a lot of snaps, like maybe Oklahoma just really loves the other backs that they have. I'm interested to see this zone scheme with John Mateer. How often is he truly going to read it? How frequently are they going to go to this run pass option? Because I think that's where they can hurt Michigan the most, is his ability to hand off when that's the right read, to keep it on zone read when that's the correct read, or to keep it on zone read and then hit the RPO slants behind linebackers who are scraping down. If he can really do that consistently, then they're not only going to beat Michigan, but he's going to have success throughout the course of this SEC schedule.
yeah, and going over to Michigan now, of course, again, another performance that I think you would have expected more out of Michigan, but it's New Mexico. They're known for their upsets, and I don't think Michigan looked bad. They looked in control the entire game. They had some things that they were working out and working that rust off. I think Michigan looked pretty well. What did you take from Michigan in week one and what you saw on the field?
I personally wasn't expecting a lot more from Michigan. This was a standard Michigan opening. Like, Michigan's not trying to win football games by 60 points. There are a lot of teams
Mhm.
across the country that's what they're trying to do. Michigan is just fine beating you by 17 points if they can play a lot of players, get some information, get some reps on guys, and this was a staple under Jim Harbaugh. I can't tell you how many times they've opened the season with that exact same score, 34-17 over an opponent, because they wanted to play a lot of guys. Here's what I was more interested in. The entire Michigan fan base has been talking about Bryce Underwood is going to be a Heisman Trophy winning national championship quarterback his freshman year as an 18-year-old, from the very day he flipped his commitment from LSU. I have come in a lot more reserved because I had to live this, right? I know how hard it is to play quarterback in the Big Ten at the University of Michigan. The kid just turned 18 years old during fall camp. So I came in with more reservations. Can he at least be an upgrade from last season? Can he at least, transition into this game manager sort of role? And let's hope that the defense is as good as we think it could be at Michigan. And let's hope that Justice Haynes and the running game can be as dynamic as it has been for Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. That would at least be an improvement. And with Michigan's schedule, could potentially get you in the college football playoff. But I will say this, even though they opened with New Mexico, okay, and that is not the juggernaut of all opponents. I was blown away with Bryce Underwood's performance, his command over the game, record-breaking performance in week 1, 21 of 31, 251 yards passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. He didn't press at any point. He showed an ability to layer the football with touch, which I didn't think he did in Michigan's spring game. Everything was a fastball. Again, take that for what it's worth. Yes, that's against New Mexico, but that performance would be better than every single quarterback performance a year ago for Michigan, and they went 8-5 and beat the eventual national champs, and they beat Alabama. So, can he do it on the road in a raucous environment in Norman, Oklahoma, against this blue blood program of Oklahoma with a defensive head coach in Brent Venables who needs this showing, who needs this win, and who needs this season? The entire world is going to be watching to see if he can deliver, but I was very impressed with the way Bryce Underwood ran that offense. And on top of how he played, Michigan rushed for 200 yards. So that's a great showing, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and I was very impressed too. Just right out of the gate, the way that he came out on the field showed excitement, showed poise. He brings about an aura about himself that I don't think I have ever seen a quarterback since yourself, stepping out there. But no, I think
Thank you.
it
I will
really
say,
was an aura.
I was thinking about this. I'm from South Georgia, got an opportunity to play quarterback at the University of Michigan, and I'm maybe the best quarterback to come out of my hometown, certainly one of the best quarterbacks to come out of my hometown. Was very fortunate to go to Michigan, and I just think the best that I ever was, whatever period of time that was, I still couldn't have accomplished what Bryce Underwood did in one game as a true freshman. It really does put it in perspective, because that
Yeah,
position is so hard and that league is so good, and the expectations are so high. And look, there's a reason that he's starting as a true freshman. There's a reason that you paid so much NIL money to flip him from LSU. At the same time, he's going to make mistakes. He's probably going to make mistakes this weekend at Oklahoma. But I just think that you saw a glimpse of what could be with his ability to get out of trouble when he needs to, his ability to make the correct reads. And again, this roster that he has around him, I still, a question mark is still out for me at wide receiver. I think that Michigan has some playmakers. They need to really step up and prove that they can get separation against great defenses and that they can catch contested balls. All of that you want to see from every team, from every wide receiver group in the country. But Michigan, make no mistake, they want to run the football first, and then they want to complement that run game with a quarterback who can play action and make great decisions down the field. I think that's what Michigan has in Bryce Underwood, despite some of the freshman mistakes that he will inevitably make this season.
yeah, yeah, and I really liked what I saw from him as well. Like you mentioned, I think he overperformed what I would have expected out of what is he, 18, 19 years old? I would not have expected him to come out there that poised and then bring that good of a performance week one uh, in a big time environment. In Ann Arbor in the Big House, very impressive there. Going over this game in week two with Oklahoma, what concerns do you have for Michigan against Oklahoma? Is there any mismatches that you think Oklahoma might lean a little heavier and that you're a little concerned there? Or is there anything maybe that Michigan, you just felt like you didn't see the top performers perform the way that they should have over there and that they're going to have to up their game when they come to Norman?
Well, look, if on Michigan on offense with Oklahoma on defense, if Oklahoma makes a commitment to stop the run game, which I would hope that Michigan could run the football effectively on Oklahoma, even if Oklahoma stacks the box and makes a commitment to stop the run game. But let's just say they overcommit and they say, we're not going to allow Michigan to run the football. Let's at least make the 18-year-old kid beat us through the air. If they do that and Bryce just can't do it because he makes mistakes, or Michigan's not elite enough at skill positions on the perimeter to be able to beat Oklahoma, then that is what it is, and Michigan's going to have to deal with that throughout the season. I'm a little bit more concerned with the other side of it. I mean, we've been talking about how dynamic John Mateer is, and he brings his offensive coordinator over, and honestly, I think there are concerns on the defensive side of the ball. Now, again, I will repeat that I think Wink Martindale was trying to play a lot of guys last week for a reason. Hey, we're opening up with New Mexico. This is a game that we should win no matter how many guys we play. Let's at least see what they have. Let's get a lot of guys some reps, a lot of guys some snaps. Mason Graham's not there anymore. Kenneth Grant's not there anymore. Those are first-round picks. They really helped stifle opponent run games a year ago and forced opponents to throw the football through the air. The Buckeyes didn't have success doing that. Steve Sarkisian in Texas, they did have success doing that. So I'm a little bit worried that maybe Michigan on defense is just starting slow once again, and that Oklahoma can find similar success against, especially against Michigan's zone coverages, where these linebackers are in space. I'm a little bit worried that Oklahoma can find that sort of success the way that Steve Sarkisian in Texas was able to a year ago. But I'll tell you one other thing that I'm really disappointed in is Jayshon Barnum will be out for the first half of this game because of a targeting call against him in the New Mexico game. And I really want to say that while Oklahoma fans may be happy about that because you keep a really good player off the field for the first half, I think that it's college football needs new leadership. I can't tell from one week to the next what targeting is, and it's getting very, very frustrating. And this is a way that the NFL beats college football in many respects. I prefer college football in so many ways to the NFL, but this is one area where when the NFL gets something wrong or they try something or they tinker and it's not right, the leadership there, Roger Goodell and the owners, they move off of it. College football needs to do something similar with this targeting rule. And to be honest with you, I would be just as upset about it if it were Oklahoma's best defender who's not going to play in the first half, because again, I love college football more than I just love Michigan football. And I want to see the best football players out there. When a guy goes after a quarterback and he does what he's coached to do, he shouldn't have to be suspended, not only get removed from that game, but certainly shouldn't have to miss part of the next football game.
Yeah, and I think I can speak for most Oklahoma fans from what I've seen on social media. My first response to that was, technically by this new rule, yeah, he did make head-to-head contact, but I hate it. Because what you saw there was a tackle where he wrapped a guy up.
Well,
The
but again,
contact of the heads.
But I don't want to interrupt you, but I just have to
Yeah,
stop on the helmet-to-helmet contact. I saw it
yeah,
last night in the TCU versus North Carolina game. The helmets collided. So it's
yeah,
not just helmet to helmet. They go a step further and say, oh, well, what was the indicator? Quote, what's the indicator that created the helmet contact? Already, you've already convoluted the situation. Already,
yeah,
you've lost me. It used to be about launching your helmet as a defender into a wide receiver who's over the middle. If it's just about helmet to helmet contact, every single running back rushing downhill through the hole would get thrown out of a game. If it's just about crown of the helmet, again, every single running back or linebacker would get thrown out of a game if it's crown of the helmet. The helmet's touching clearly does not automatically remove you from a game, because I didn't
yeah.
see it last night in TCU versus North Carolina. So I can't keep up with it from one week to the next. But even if that's what we're going to say, is that that's helmet to helmet contact, or there's an indicator, or you launched, or it's crown of the helmet, then penalize the guys. It's also really
Yeah.
dangerous to grab someone's face mask. What happens when you do it? You get a flag, you get penalized. Make the penalty egregious if you need, but don't kick football players out of the game for playing hard and doing what they're coached to do. Kick them out of the game and suspend them for the next if they're fighting opponents or if they hit
Yeah.
a referee. That's when you kick a kid out of a game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I think with most Oklahoma fans, from the response that I've seen, is, man, this sucks, because we want to see, like you mentioned, I want to see that Oklahoma is good enough to beat Michigan at their best, because that tells me a lot more about the future of this team and how much I can expect from this team, rather than, going in there and maybe Oklahoma gets out to an early lead in the first half, and that's what wins the game because they didn't have a star linebacker. And that's just pathetic. And to your point too, kicking a player out of the game at all is ridiculous for a penalty. But we don't do that for any other penalty. Like you mentioned, even a face mask is an egregious one, and that's more intentional and looks way more intentional than a helmet-to-helmet contact. But I agree with you. I think the targeting rule is just ridiculous,
Yeah,
and
look,
it's
it's
confusing too.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but if you're Michigan, no excuses, embrace adversity, and if you're Oklahoma, hey, if you beat Michigan and that ends up being a reason why, who cares, man? Take the win, move on. Your schedule's so tough. Brent Venables needs a win like that. That no one's going to look back at that game, 3 months from now and say, well, we should discount Oklahoma's win because they didn't have one of their great players from Michigan. If you're able to beat Michigan any way you can, take that win, move forward, use the momentum in SEC play, and see if you can win the conference or at least make the college football playoff.
So what you're saying is just give him a break, all right? Give him some sort of break. But
Yeah.
going forward, real quick, last thing. I know you threw out the prediction, I believe, on your guys' preview show, and I will have the link of that down in the description below, so you can see more from Jake
Thank
and
you.
Blaine and some of their comments on the game as well. But what is your overall prediction going into week two? Again, big time matchup, a beautiful matchup. It's going to be a beautiful kind of fall night. It should be pretty
Mhm.
nice for some Oklahoma folks. Brisk. It'll be around 75 degrees. What's your prediction here for Oklahoma versus Michigan?
Well, preseason, obviously, this is one of the games we talked about most during the season. On Oklahoma's schedule right here, you can see a check mark by Michigan, right? A check mark for them just because of what we've talked about, all not just the transfer portal success Oklahoma had, but also retaining many of their own players. And Bryce Underwood, true freshman, was he going to win the job? He's going to go on the road to Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the correct pick for so many reasons, which is exactly what I said about Clemson hosting LSU. It's the correct pick for many reasons. LSU has to prove it to us. Well, LSU did prove it in that game, and they went on the road and got a win. And yeah, that's why I flipped this week in our preview based off what I saw from Bryce Underwood, his ability to remain poised. I like Michigan chances to go in and get a win. Obviously, I am biased. I want Michigan to win the football game. I think Oklahoma's in a really good position right now. Again, to me, it comes down to Michigan's defense. If Michigan plays defense the way they did a week ago, then Oklahoma will win this game and could win it handily. If Michigan plays defense like they did towards the end of last season, even at some points when Will Johnson wasn't there and Mason Graham wasn't on the field and Kenneth Grant was on the field. Remember, they put together some spectacular defensive performances even when those first round picks weren't on the field. If Wink Martindale's able to do that, then I really like Michigan chances going in. And I also will say, I think no matter whoever wins, especially if it's Michigan, really positions themselves nicely to make the college football playoff because Michigan's schedule this year is really just not that difficult. Let's be honest. If Oklahoma's able to win this game, like they get that momentum I was talking about moving into SEC play, but even the loser of this game is not out of any sort of postseason opportunities because I think that both of these programs are on the rise this year. I think both programs are going to win a lot of football games, and the loser will immediately become a fan of the other team to keep winning games. So it makes this game look good in the committee's eyes and in the college football playoff committee's eyes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's definitely going to be a close one. It's going to be a fun one. But David, I appreciate you jumping on. Let my listeners know where they can find all your great work.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go over to Crane and Company, watch all of the content we have coming out here. Week 1 was awesome. We got some previews moving into week 2. You can follow me on social media, X and Instagram and TikTok. That's all David Adam Cohn. And thank you for mentioning the album. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
new country music album out. It's called Richest Man in Town. 12 songs on there. Songs like I Used to Drink, Life Like Mine, The Ballad of Billy Spades at Devil's Creek. If you love country music, Southern rock, Americana music, please go find it on iTunes, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you traditionally get your music.
Yeah, yeah, it's great stuff. But again, David, thank you so much.
Thank you.